Well, here we go again, season 2026, joined by two of the standout playmakers of the modern era, Kieran Foran, Cooper Cronk.
Hello,
How are you,
Matty.
gents?
How are we doing?
How's the break been?
Foz has taken over all our jobs here at Fox. He's on board now.
Yeah, it always happens, Cooper, I'll tell you.
Look at this. Sponsor, mate, moving up in the world.
There we go, mate. Look, it was just a matter of time, Coops. And, fellas, as people are watching this, we're on our way. We're in the plane back from Vegas.
Well, some of us are.
Some of us are.
Some got stranded.
Yeah, that's right. Don't know what shape we're in. Hope we're going to be okay. Hope we're here next week, but who knows. To start with, Broncos going back-to-back. You know, it's been shown it's hard to do. Well, Penrith did it 4 times, but it is a challenge. It seems like going back-to-back.
Penrith did it
yeah, I know, 4 times. Jeez, it's tough to do. Hang on a second. But as you blokes know, it is difficult. Well, that's one of the remarkable things about Penrith, being able to regenerate and keep that fire in the belly. The Broncos, there's no doubt when going back-to-back, oftentimes everything that can go wrong will go wrong. They've already had the first challenge with Payne Haas announcing he'll leave at the end of next year. I don't think it won't worry Payne any way, shape or form. He can compartmentalise better than anyone I've seen. The effect on the team, what do you think?
Yeah, well, with what happened with Penrith, they make it feel like it is possible now to obviously win back-to-back. You did it in 2018, 2019, Coop, so you're the best one to ask on this panel. I know myself, having won a grand final with Manly in 2011, that there was a period in 2012 where I felt like we were travelling well and we had the opportunity to go back-to-back, but I just didn't feel like there was the same desire and the same motivation there that was there the year before in 2011. And that's what astounds me when sides do go back-to-back, is that you've got to find either another theme or another way to be able to keep the guys at that same desire and that same level that they were at the year before.
Yeah, I agree with Foz. I think going back-to-back is not a football performance thing. Like the Broncos are the best talented team in the competition.
Yeah.
You know, if Walsh plays to his standard, Ezra Mann, Patrick Carrigan, Payne Haas put Hunt and Reynolds together, absolutely they should.
Yep.
But the difference between going back-to-back and what Penrith did 4 times in a row, I think it more comes down to the ability for the best players to improve and that desire to want to do it again. Because if arrogance ever comes into it, or I've achieved Everest and it ever comes into it, you're going to be a couple of % below the desire mark, and every other team is going to chase you down and get it. So, look, I think their culture is a huge part of why they maybe can go back-to-back. Their talent says they can do it.
Yep.
But there's a big question mark around me whether those best players have the desire to, absolutely do all the 1%ers again, because it is hard. Whatever Penrith did for 4 years is phenomenal.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Hard to replicate again in the modern era the way the game's
City of Brisbane presents challenges. I mean, you go up there even when they were struggling for years.
You turn the radio on, you turn the news on, you are front and centre of everything.
You've got Reece on top of that as well.
Yep.
Yeah, Reece Mania everywhere he goes. And we can't forget the fact that the Broncos, 2023, was that close to winning the grand final. And I reckon there's an element they just went, righto, now we're going to take the next step.
Yep.
Didn't play finals.
Fell out, yeah.
Yeah.
So they've got a history of not working as hard as you should when you're being the hunted top thing.
Madge will look after that.
Yes. So he will, but the Payne thing, what do you think about Payne? Like, the whole story that Wayne did this stealth mission, love it, right? But there is something that says arguably your best player has just won a comp and wants out a year later. What does that say to the rest of the group?
Yeah. It's funny, I heard Payne talk about things. There seems to be at times a determination to make it about Madge. You know what I mean? I tell you what, in Brisbane, he hasn't had much clear air. They win the competition, then all of a sudden Payne leaves and they're going, well, it's because of Madge.
And he cops it because they train too hard. They're the premiers.
We interviewed Brad Thorne in the break, in the On Blake podcast, and Brad Thorne, he was talking about the spew buckets. Yeah. And he said, he sort of laughed to himself about the spew buckets. He was talking about the Broncos when they're winning comp after comp, and you had Langer and you had Lazarus and everything. They were trained by Kelvin Giles. Yeah. And he said, one of the first training sessions he went to in '94, he said, they're about to do a fitness session. And he looked over, and there was Alfie, Kevy, and a couple of the players being physically sick. And he said to Lazo, they've already trained. And he said, no, mate, they know what's coming.
Yeah,
well even back in the day under Craig, we would have blown the GPS system up like 40, 50 kilometres a week just to feel like you're at medium level and can compete. So, look, I think the Broncos finish top 4.
Yeah.
I don't think they go back-to-back. But I tell you what Reece Walsh did at the back end of the year, poor geez, he's got the ability to dominate this competition if he's got that work and desire to go again.
And the great thing about Reece, talking to Madge about it, he just said, mate, he loves football. I mean, I think a lot of it's important to have physical assets and all those things, but the thing that actually drives it is your love for the game.
Yeah.
And he's got plenty of that.
But Turbo, right? Like when he won the Dalium, he lit the competition up. You work with him. Like Turbo's one guy that can take Manly by the scruff and lead them to finals again, right? So
for sure.
He must be set up for a big year.
Yeah, he is, mate. He's flying at the moment. I don't want to jinx him, but he's had a huge pre-season. He's in tip-top shape. I think getting the captaincy's taken him to a whole new level.
Yeah. That's a good move, that.
Yeah, he looks as good as I've seen him look currently. So.
Talking about looking good, young Joey Walsh. You've done a lot of work with Joey. I thought he looked really good in the trial game the other day. It's going to be interesting. He'll be right up the clacker of Jamal and Brooksy.
He had a great game. Yeah, he had a great game, didn't he? He showed plenty of poise out there against the Warriors. He's got a good kicking game. He's a good organising halfback. Rugby union kid originally, but
he looks neat. Yeah, it's funny. Like he's got a great running game. He's pretty robust. He got better at that age. Got a better running game than Ricky had. But there was just that elements of Ricky's game, just that neatness and the skills.
Yeah, he's fired some passes at training, like 20, 25 metre cutout.
You taught him that?
No, I didn't teach him that, Keeper. No way in the world. He didn't get that from me.
Maybe his hamstrings are better.
Yeah, 100%, Matty. But no, I tell you what I look for in these young halves. I look for their competitive streak because, as we all know, there's plenty of young halves that come through that have got tons of ability. And they look great with the footy and their finesse, their way, into the line and ball play. But what I want to be intrigued is when they're being pushed at training, how hard are they? How dark are they prepared to go? And that's what's impressed me the most about Joey. He trains hard.
Hey, what about boys? Like one of the biggest storylines of the year is DCE to the Roosters. You blokes have played a lot of football with DCE, Origin level, and Foz, of course, at club level a lot. And you blokes have also, there's similarities in the very fact that you blokes have been in systems for a long time, and then all of a sudden, right at the back end of your career, you change systems. How tough is that to do?
Well, I think in Daly's situation, knowing him the way that I know him and having the conversations that I've had with him, he feels reinvigorated. I think he personally felt like a change was probably needed at this stage of his career, and I don't know if you were in a similar boat in that same position, Cooper, but having had the conversations I've had with him, mate, there's a real spark about him at the moment. And I almost feel, Matty, that there's an element when you do go to a new club that you've got to earn your stripes again. 15 seasons at Manly, he'd become part of the furniture. He could roll in day one of pre-season. And although he's a true professional and he keeps himself in tip-top shape, if he didn't, have to do all the reps or didn't have to do all the sessions, it wouldn't have mattered, right? But he's turned up to the Roosters, and I suspect that those guys there, they don't care what's been done beforehand. They want to know what's under the bonnet now.
And he's got a bit of a point to prove, and that's a dangerous driver. My move to Sydney wasn't because I needed a change. Like, I could have stayed at Melbourne. It was more family-based.
Or money-based.
And I think for Daly at the Roosters, him and Sam apparently have formed a good combination, and his influence on Sam Walker is going to determine a lot of whether the Roosters can go further like they did last year. Like, there is not a single part of me that hopes that they fall over. I genuinely hope that the Roosters can achieve everything they deserve this year, and I hope Daly's front and centre of it. But there's a couple of technical things that I think he'll be 37 at the early start of the year. There's a couple of technical things that he needs to improve in. One, the physicality defensively. You got Sam Walker and Daly Cherry-Evans, who, if Kieran was playing the opposition, Jerome Hughes, Nathan Cleary, they're going to target those two guys on either edge. So there's a spot there. So defensively, they both need to aim up.
Yeah.
And from an attacking technical point of view, you were very good at it. Daly and Sam have this sort of tendency when they're first or second receiver put their hips on a 45-degree angle and go overs.
Yeah.
Now, if
Yep.
you've got two halves that are going overs, the sideline is your worst enemy.
Yeah, that's right.
So technically, I think both of them, need to improve, and someone needs to hold up the attack. Absolutely. Otherwise, Tedesco's going to run into a cul-de-sac most times. So I hope they can do it, but there's a couple of technical things that I think Daly and Sam need to improve in. And at 37 years of age, that's hard to do.
Challenge.
It
I
is
want
a
to
big
ask you this,
challenge.
Foz.
Yep.
You, Coop, who has a better year, DCE or Jamal Fogdy?
I think DCE. I think he's got a lot more, sort of talent, forward pack set up, physicality through the middle. Jamal's a great manager, a great kicker, a great communicator. But one of the strengths to the Raiders last week is he had Ethan Strange, KO weeks. He's got Tom, which is a huge foil. I think Luke Brooks needs to have a cracking year for Manly to do something. So, mate, point blank, I think DC does.
What about teams, right? We can be on the field during the pre-season or off the field, whatever reason. You get a feeling you're going to have a big year. For me, I tell you the side I think, and it comes back to the old Jack Gibson thing. Winning starts in the front office. I think Paramatta. That club has shown a lot of backbone around the Zach Lomax situation, not being bullied by one of the biggest clubs in the Melbourne Storm. Thoughts on that, boys? I just think that's really good signs, particularly around Rolesy, given the fact that he mates with a lot of the Melbourne blokes there, and I think to an extent they probably thought that gift him through, but he's just stood his digs.
Look, I've got to say, I love what Rolesy's done since arriving at Parramatta. Having watched their games last year and the style of footy that they were playing, you could see significant improvement in them. And I can only imagine it's going to go up another level heading into the 2026 season. I've got them making the 8. I think they'll be huge improvers, Parramatta. Look, I don't know Rolls on a personal level. But just from afar, it looks like he's got a really good handle on that playing group there.
I agree with you. I think the fact that Zach is a world-class player in our game, arguably in the conversation for best winger in the game, origin player, was unsure whether he wanted to commit to Parramatta or take whatever else was there. And Rolesy said, no worries, see ya.
Yes.
You know what? I've got Jonah Pezzett coming to the club. I think Mitchell Moses is set for a tremendous year. There was some real challenges in the early part of last year that I think Parramatta players and roles learnt a lot from. I think they're a big move. I think they're probably the team that sort of sits right on the edge of the 8. I really like it. I think for a culture point of view, it's a good thing. And sometimes when a coach makes strong decisions like that, it almost ripples through the rest of the team. A bit like Josh Hannay, right? Like Josh Hannay hasn't coached a game yet, but he's got Jaden Campbell and Tino to commit. Now, you don't have performance on the field or what to back up, like as a player. They've obviously seen a vision, believe in his coaching philosophy, and said, you know what, I'm all in.
Cooper Bye as well. Cooper Bye.
Yep.
So,
and before we get away on that, like one of the big off-season storylines, mate, Titans ownership.
What's the guy at the Cowboys?
What's this? What? I don't want to ruin your hair. Is that all right? Can I put that on? Is that all right?
I've been combing it with the chamois all morning.
It's concrete anyway, so I think we'll be right.
That looks brilliant. Look at that.
Pretty good.
Hey?
Well, talk to me. What's
Capital
happened?
City goofball.
What's happened?
Well,
are you going to still be on this show?
Oh, well, it depends, doesn't it?
Are you still going to be at Fox? Good answer. But why?
Yeah.
Why, mate? Talk to me.
Well, they were new ownership and they just reached out and said, would you be interested in a stake in it?
You've known Beck and Brett for a while,
for a long time.
Yep.
And, oftentimes...
So you just tapped the credit card with a $10 million investment?
It's like, pincer. But, so, look, I mean, the bottom line is I love the game. That's the thing. And, once I moved out of playing and you moved into the media, this is not going to last forever. And
where you going,
it's the next step. I just love the game.
Why Titans, though, Matty? Did you have ambitions to own a part of
the
footy club?
It was funny. I was sitting watching the footballer back into last year, and as I've said numerous times in this podcast around, I've never seen the game so good. It's just flying. And I just said to my wife, frivolously, if we ever get the chance I think we should jump in. I mean, if you want to lose money, you're on the football side, or you become an alcoholic, or a gambling addict.
Or both.
Or why not do all three? And so, it's been, we just had the opportunity and went in, and it's easy for me to sit here all the time and say, this side should have done this and they should be doing that and all the rest of it. Well, I've got skin in the game now.
So does that mean you've been down doing a couple of coaching sessions?
No.
You listen here, guys, this is how I used to do it.
Look, guys.
If you want to play like me, this is how I did it.
Josh, just stand aside for a second. Guys, come in. Let's form a circle. Take a knee. Now, and this is really important for me. I've spoken to Josh about this. I said, look, mate, anything you need, of course, but I'm not going to be one of those blokes who sits in the grandstand smoking a pipe going, as in tobacco. So I'm just going to say that straight away. When you say that, these times have changed. But I'm not going to sit there saying, I'm second guessing of tactics. I've given the word, and I have no interest in that. I have done a little bit with Toddy Carney and Matt Keating and the guys in the Pathways, just about trying to get young players to the club. Signed a lot of good young blokes. I mean, Matt Keating, he has done an outstanding job there. He's been fantastic. And Todd Carney, boys, I cannot tell you what an outstanding coach Todd Carney is to those young blokes. They really respect him. He's turned his life around remarkably. And just the way he talks to the young blokes, the young players, you can see, and tactically you go, mate, he could be an NRL coach one day.
So if the Titans make the 8, what does Hannay do? What's his biggest influence on that team?
Coops, if you had a look, the thing that was encouraging in there, win over the Dolphins. And I understand it's a trial game, right? Everyone's up on their toes. But just go in there, originally, you just know, you can sense the side that's right up on their toes, Foz, and enthusiasm. And the other night, when they won, it was a younger side, but there was nothing chancy. It was exactly all the stuff that Josh has been working on in the off-season. Worked it, and they just took that onto the field. So that's an encouraging sign.
Well, I read a comment that he said when he first arrived at the club in terms of he didn't need to raise the roof. He wanted to lift the floor, right? He wanted to lift the bottom half of the squad up. And I think there were signs of that the other night, as you touched on. A lot of their top liners didn't play. And we spoke about Jaden Campbell, Tino, Kenny, AJ Brimson. I mean, there's talent for days there. But you look at that side that performed the other night, Matty, as you said. They were majority the bottom half of their squad, and there was a gritty look about it. There was no nonsense. There wasn't flair. They got through their sets and they ground out the game. So that was positive signs.
And a bloke, if the way they defended the other night, Brian McDermott, who's so much experience in the game, won grand finals of Leeds, coached them to grand finals, had a little stint up in Newcastle. He's renowned as a top-line defence coach. And you can see the desperation, the physicality. That's been, last year, that's been a challenge the last couple of years.
It has, mate, because it's been a younger squad. So being able to do it for 1 week has been okay, but then trying to back that up week in, week out, as you know, Cooper, as a young guy coming into the NRL, it can be really hard to find that consistency. And that's been the challenge for the Gold Coast since I arrived there 3 years ago. Has been that consistency.
Statistically, every year, 2 or 3 teams jump out of the 8 from last year and a couple jump in. The Raiders were tremendous last year, right? So which team outside the 8 has a Raiders-like year that gets them back up?
For me, it's a no-brainer. Dolphins. I look at the Dolphins and, they get a decent run of injuries. In my opinion, definitely top 8. But great outside backs, strong pack, terrific young players on the up, and Isaiah Katoa. You look at all those things, this year, they should be top 8. In fact, I think they're a real chance at top 4.
And Flegler back, Gilbert back.
It's a great story, Flegler.
You need those forwards to support that young half coming through. Don't necessarily disagree with that. I'm a little bit like Foz. I think Paramatta have a big year. I think they can improve. I just feel like, Mitchell Moses, having been in his shoes where you're sort of the second, third halfback at rep level, you go away for the Ashes, you sit back, you don't get a game, and it drives you to get better. He has now got Jonah Pezzett, who is got a bit of swagger. He will call the ball if he wants. If there's numbers for his side, he'll get it. And I think having another threat alongside Mitch Moses is going to open up him. So I think Moses drives the Eels to potentially in the 8.
Yeah, talking about that, it's a challenge for young Jonah as well, because he's been at a really good system in the Melbourne Storm, and he's been a guy in the halves who's come in and out. There's no doubt his quality, but he's gone there with a lot of reps, a bit of pressure on.
Well, we touched on that word before, consistency. Like, he's going to have to really find that, because he came in at Melbourne and he only had to play a handful of games.
That's right.
Now he's got to do it for 27 rounds, and he's going to be targeted. He's going to have to make tackle after tackle. Big boppers running at him, so his body's not going to be feeling 100% every time he takes the field. But I'm with you, boys. He's got tons of ability. He's got plenty of swagger, and you can see that.
Talking to Mitch Moses, I've got him Dalian winner. I think he wins by a fair margin. Yeah, if they can have a good season and get themselves into the 8, I think he's a really sure price.
I agree. I think he is. I think he'll be the best player in a team around the middle of the mark that wins more than loses. But there's also Nathan Cleary that hasn't climbed Everest and won a Dalian. Like, there's just something that if Penrith, what they did last year to get to within, they should have beaten the Broncos in that prelim final. They're in a position to do it. I think if he can stay fit and healthy, he's going to play 20-plus games.
They're going to take some beating, aren't they?
Yeah, they'll take some beating. So I think Moses there. I think I got the Dogs as minor premiers.
Yeah.
I feel like the Dogs last year for half of the year were the best defensive team by a country mile. And they made the decision to get Lachlan Galvin to improve their attack, so when they play the best teams, their attack is more of a threat. And at the back end, I think they lost their defensive identity. Got smashed by, I think it was Penrith, went out straight sets. Cameron Ciraldo designed the Penrith defence. He's got now, a couple of years embedded in the Dogs.
Yeah.
I think they'll be a much better defensive team, and they're not going to lose their DNA halfway through the year. Galvin and Burton will be key.
Yeah.
I like Stephen Crichton, like what we saw on the weekend. Burton, Kickow, Crichton. That left edge is scary for any right edge to have to defend.
Look, I'll go on the back of that. I've got the Dogs to make the grand final.
Yep.
Just got that gut feel. Their defence, the improvement in with certain players. Leo Thompson gone for 10 weeks. That's a blow. He'll come back into the side mid-season.
The other thing, in terms of prediction, I had Leo Thompson as buy of the year. I thought he was going to add something, but out for 10 weeks with that calf. What I saw from Reid Marnie, talk about Cherry Evans with a point to prove, he also has one, and that's a dangerous sight. It just seems like, so I think he could be in the conversation for buy.
Where do you see Cowboys this year, Cooper?
Hard to pick out.
Yes, their best is definitely pushing top 4. Their worst, and they're trying to avoid like the bottom 4. Like, it's just a big gap between
Such a good attacking team, aren't they? Like, defensively, they're just vulnerable.
I think that's the thing about it, Foz. I think they just put so much energy into their attack. And at times, they look like their idea of defence is just wait till we get the ball back. And we'll go. They're always after a shootout. If they can fix up their defence like they did a few years ago, then, mate, they're pushing top 4.
Yeah, completely agree. And, like, we're not 360 here where we start making agendas, but
we're not.
Todd Payton.
Sorry, I'll get rid of that.
Todd Payton's cleaned out his coaching staff. That's the one sure sign that he needs a good start of the year.
That is, mate. It was the assistant's fault.
So they honestly need to win 6 of 8, 6 of 10. Like, if they're at the bottom end of that win-loss category and halfway through the year, there's a bit of pressure building there.
My last one, this will lurk you, Cooper. Wally Lewis medal winner, Adam Fennell-Blake. Gee, we're going to have a good pack. What a great rule. I will say this. I really like it. I think it safeguards both parts of the game because Samoa and Tonga must move to Tier 1.
For sure.
And at the end of the day, in 10 years' time, you want the best players playing State of Origin. Or you don't want them committing to Australia away from Samoa and Tonga simply because they want to play Origin football. I think the 13 years of age rule, I think it's a good one. I think it's a way ahead. Yeah,
my thoughts is that we never want to dilute the power of Origin. Yes, we want the best players to play. But the reason why Origin is great is because what Arthur Beetzer did in 1980, put his body on the line, Trevor Gilmeister, they've all done it. Your brother did it, right? That is the key part of what Origin is. So you can open up eligibility to whatever, but ultimately, if you care for Queensland and New South Wales, you will be picked. I think the legacy part of that, selecting players that genuinely care about having care for Queensland and New South Wales, is the key to that.
You would have had the opportunity for us.
Yeah, I would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on your point, Cooper, because you came here before you're 13, you've grown up in either state. You've played the majority of your junior rep footy. As I did, I came here when I was 9 years old, so I played all my rep footy in New South Wales. So I've said it previously, although I chose to play for New Zealand and I've got a great passion for New Zealand, my heart's with the Kiwis, I would have certainly displayed that same passion had I been picked in a New South Wales Blues team, for sure.
Any last comments, fellas?
What have you been doing the off-season? You look good.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. More of that. Righto, lads. Good on you, boys.